What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm back on r/relationships, and I've got a pretty sad story, to be honest. In it, this poor woman finds out the real reason her ex left her years after the fact, which ultimately leaves her with way more questions than answers. So without further ado, sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel if you're new for daily Reddit stories. Let's get into this one. I learned the real reason my ex left me. I'm posting this because I really don't know how to feel about it, and I just needed to get it off my chest. Sorry for the long post, there's a lot to unpack. Do not apologize to me or anyone listening, we love the long posts. Backstory first. So, around 2 years ago, my ex-fiance, who I'd been in a relationship with for almost 10 years, unceremoniously just left me. It never fully made sense to me as there were no warning signs, we were actively planning our wedding, and finally agreed to try for a baby, as we were both in our 30s and time was ticking. Then, one day, he just started acting sort of off, wasn't saying I love you before he left for work for the day, was spending more time out drinking with his friends than he was at home. He'd been struggling with his mental health since lockdown, so I assumed he was having a bit of a downward spiral. So, I sat him down one day and just asked him if everything was okay. He tried to brush it off initially and kept saying he was fine, so I changed the question and asked if we were okay. He looked like he really didn't want to answer. So I asked again. He paused, and in that moment, I knew it was over. I asked if he still loved me. He said he did, but wasn't in love with me anymore. And that was it. Within a week, he had moved out, leaving 90% of his belongings to be collected at a later date, and to serve as a constant reminder that he was just gone. To say it hit me hard was an understatement. I spiraled massively. I was at the lowest point I'd ever been in my life. So I tried to end it all. It just hurt too much, feeling like there was something so wrong with me that he had to just leave. Fortunately, a friend managed to get me to a hospital before I did any serious damage to myself. And while I still felt awful about myself most of the time, it got a little easier. I ended up dating that friend a few months later. A lot of people said it was too soon to move on, but honestly, I never set out to have another relationship at all, but his constant support, presence, and reassurance that there was nothing wrong with me made me want to spend time with those who truly gave a dang about me. And in time, we developed feelings for each other. We had a beautiful relationship filled with love and laughter, and much to our surprise, I ended up pregnant 9 months into our relationship. We decided to keep the baby even though our relationship was still in its early stages, and 9 months later, our beautiful daughter was born. We are still as strong as ever today and continuing to build an amazing life together as a family. Now on to present day. I guess my ex has been reflecting on the past recently due to a lot of deaths in his family, and his mother, who I'm still close with today, reached out to me to ask whether I'd be willing to meet up with him as he had something to get off his chest. She didn't know what he wanted to talk to me about as it was something he could only discuss with me apparently, but she would understand if I said no. I decided to think about it for a few days before I agreed that I would meet up with him at a local coffee shop. I got there early because, you know, mama needs her caffeine fix with these early morning wake-ups and night feeds. I was already sat down when he came in, and he gave me the saddest looking smile while I merely just nodded to him and motioned for him to sit down and get out whatever he needed to tell me. I was a little bit speechless at what he had to say. He said that when we started trying for a baby and nothing was happening, even though we were closely tracking my ovulation cycle and testing every day for that sweet spot, he realized that something wasn't right. So he secretly took a day off work to see a fertility doctor. They found that due to an undiagnosed issue in one of his testicles, the likelihood of him ever being able to conceive a biological child of his own was incredibly low. He knew that I loved him so deeply that I would have given up my dream of having children just for him, and he said he couldn't live with that on his conscience, that I deserved to have the life and family I'd always wanted, only with someone else. He kept apologizing profusely for hurting me so much in the process, but tried to rationalize that I'd got what I'd wanted in the end, so his plan ultimately worked. I sat there silent for a few minutes and just looked at him, dead in the eyes, and said that that was never his decision to make. He took away my choice and nearly destroyed me in the process. And I got up and left. It's been a few days and I'm still processing. My partner knew I was meeting up with my ex and he knows something is up, but he's given me space until I feel ready to talk about it. But honestly, I'm shook. Like, did my ex honestly think I'd be like, okay, thanks for letting me know, and then we'd be all friends again? Wow. How about that for an original post? I mean, the craziest thing about this is that he's come and said to you, OP, I actually, in the end, did you a favor, because look at you now. You've got what you always dreamed of. You've got a child, you've got a loving husband, etc. Don't worry about the fact that you almost unalived yourself and were left in a terrible, terrible place when I, for no real reason apparently, walked out on you. And actually the actual reason, well, I'm not sure I believe it, but according to me, the actual reason is that I am so bad at communication that I just had to hide this. When in reality, there are so many other ways around this. Like, this is what I don't understand. Surely you just have a conversation with your partner rather than being like, oh, I feel so ashamed of this that I'm going to keep it a secret and then just out of the blue break up with them with no explanation. That just makes no sense. And that is why, to be honest, I don't really believe your ex at all here. Like, surely you would just say, listen, this is what's going on. I understand it. If you want to leave me, if not, whatever. And then presumably OP would say, no, I love you. I want to be with you. If she wanted to leave, fine. You know, at least you know. But there are loads of other options. You could adopt. You could try loads of like modern treatments. He said it's a likelihood that he'd never be able to conceive. That's not a formality. It's not like concrete, is it? So I don't think that this is the legit reason here. I think something's up and you're being told a lie by someone that, to be honest, seems quite manipulative. But anyway, before we get into the update, let's see what the comments think. First comment, he was having an affair that is now over and is reflecting. He used a lie to try to make himself seem like a martyr. Wow. I mean, yeah, kind of what I was saying, but I didn't really, expect or assume it went to that length, but yeah, maybe that's what it was. OP said to this, I did suspect that for quite some time. There was a girl in our friend group he had become oddly close to over the last year of our relationship. She was one of the main people he was going out drinking with when I started realizing something wasn't quite right. So my mind did go there for a while. He ended up moving in with her as housemates after he moved out. She tried coming over to collect the remainder of his things. I was pretty mad and said I didn't consent to her being there, and if she didn't leave my property, I'd call the police on her for trespassing. I don't believe anything was ever actually going on there though, as I heard through the grapevine that she was seeing some drug dealer shortly after my ex moved in with her. What a lovely woman. Somebody else said, absolutely, your ex-boyfriend had no right to take away your choice in this matter. Did he know about your failed attempt to unalive yourself? Why did he not come back then and admit that it was all a mistake? Because you couldn't have babies if you're dead, right? I think it's either he's an absolute moron or he's trying to give you some BS reasons so that you think of him in a better light going forward. OP replied, yeah, he was aware of the attempt. We had a pretty close-knit group of friends, some of whom were really supportive afterwards. They made him aware. I got a, quote, I hope you're okay, sorry for everything message after he found out. So that is 7 words after your ex has tried to unalive himself. Nice, man. I never responded, and it was at that point that I blocked and deleted his number and all of his socials because I couldn't trust myself not to drunk message him begging for him to come back. Yeah, fair enough. Somebody else said, there were other ways to deal with his infertility. Donor sperm, adoption, exactly what I said. The fact that he would rather have taken this decision from you than discuss options with you proves that he was not a suitable long-term partner. There are lots of hard decisions couples need to make together, and he demonstrated that he was unwilling to give you any real agency in your life. You are better off now with your new partner. That is 100% correct. Oh, I know I'm absolutely so much better off. My current partner is pretty much the opposite of my ex, which was why it was such a surprise that I developed feelings for him. He's extremely different from my usual type, but he's such a good egg. We had the chance to talk about everything late last night. Our daughter is going through a bit of a sleep regression, so late nights are pretty common for us at the minute. And he was super empathetic and equally as annoyed. I got my first period since having the baby this morning, and he ran me a bath and told me to go sulk for as long as I need to. Bless him. Now that's all well and good, but that isn't really the point. Like, yeah, you're better off now, but it's not up to your ex to say, look, you're better off now. I made the decision for you because I knew it was going to work out. Like, just crazy. Anyway, 5 days later, we got this update. First of all, thank you all for your lovely comments and messages of support. I was not expecting my post to blow up like it did. So I wasn't really expecting to make an update to my previous post, and definitely not this soon, but boy, does it get interesting. So, of course, I plan to leave this situation alone at this point and completely put it behind me. However, my former mother-in-law reached out to me as I hadn't spoken to her in a few days, which is quite unlike me. A few people said in a few comments that I should cut her off as well as the ex, but this woman was like a mother to me for almost 10 years. When I was going through difficulties with my own family, she opened her home to me and gave me a safe place to stay if needed. She had been more of a parent to me than my own parents and basically adopted me as the daughter that she had always wanted. So when I say we're incredibly close, I genuinely mean it. Regardless of anything that's happened with her son, we'll always have a really strong relationship outside of that. We typically have a good catch up once a week and message in between. Nothing I say to her gets passed on to her son, and from what I can gather, the trickles of information he gets is through the grapevine of the group of friends we mutually share. So when she reached out to see if I was okay yesterday, I decided I'd pop over and catch up with her. Okay, that clears a lot of stuff up for me because I was kind of thinking, why is your ex going through his mum to chat to you? Sure, you might be close, but you guys were together. But now that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, turns out he came clean to her when she asked exactly what had gone on, as she hadn't heard of me in a few days and was worried. She went absolutely ballistic at him and currently isn't speaking to him at all. Then she told me something I didn't know and something she assumed that I'd known all along. It turns out that when he was born, he had undescended testicles. He had the surgery to correct it, but there was always going to be the chance that he would have fertility issues in adulthood. He was meant to go for checkups once he passed puberty age to see whether there was any lasting damage, and he claimed to his mother that he'd gone to these and everything was fine, but neither of us actually believed this. So the entire time we discussed having children, he knew there was a possibility that all he was shooting was blanks, but he neglected to actually let me know this for 10 freaking years. Bear in mind, we were probably having unprotected sex for 2 years of our relationship, not actively trying, but we had agreed that if something happened, we'd be happy about it. So I think when we were actively trying to have a baby and nothing was happening, it sort of gave him the mental tip-off that all was not well, and he finally decided to get that checkup he'd been putting off. I'm flabbergasted, guys. In regards to my partner and my relationship, we are absolutely fine. He's used to my sulky episodes. I did eventually fill him in after a few days of being mildly annoyed, and he agreed that it was super effed up, and agreed with a lot of the comments that his timing for telling me all this was absolutely comical. We did suspect for a while that the real reason he decided to leave was cheating initially, because he had gotten strangely close to one of the girls in our friend group, the majority of which dropped me like hot trash once we split. Turns out there's nothing going on there, but another little tidbit off my ex's mum that she found out also. Guys, he's dating this girl's 60-year-old mother. Wait, that same girl? Oh my god, wasn't expecting that. This deep into the story, my word. Good lord, his life is a dumpster fire. I don't even think I'm mad anymore, just mildly amused. Absolutely done with that. Wow. Well, good thing he was firing blanks because that meant that OP didn't even need to dodge the bullets. Thank you guys. I'll be here all week. Actually, I upload every day, so if you want to see more tomorrow, just subscribe if you want more content. Just like that. Wow, how funny was that? Sometimes I do make myself laugh. The one thing that I don't get about all of this is, like, yeah, great story and like really, really tough for you. Why do people like this just not communicate? It makes no sense to me. I get it. A lot of people are like, I don't know, especially guys, like stoic, and they keep their emotions to themselves. I think, guys are getting better at that these days. I know that like my group of friends are pretty good at that, to be fair. The majority of them anyway. You know who you are. But, I don't know, like something like this where you're really like damaging the other person by not checking things out. And I get it. He was probably really ashamed of the possibility that he was firing blanks. But still, you owe it not only to the other person, but also to yourself to know what's going on. Because, like, would it not be much less anxiety, much less of an anxiety-inducing life if you knew what was going on with you in a fertility sense. And then, of course, like, you know, you've got this woman who you're supposed to love, your partner, who really wants kids, and you know that there might be something wrong with you and you're not getting it checked out. That is just horrible. But like, even just do it for yourself. If you're a selfish person, still do it for yourself. I don't know. Makes no sense to me. I mean, unless he didn't actually want to be with you and was just looking for a way out of it. But I don't know. If he wanted to be with you, why would he do this? Clearly, this guy has just got a screw loose or two. I mean, I think, honestly, it might be easier to comprehend it if he was just cheating. Because at least then you'd be like, well, he didn't love me in the first place. This stuff is just, like, weird. Surely you just have a conversation and tell her what's going on and say, listen, this is it. It's up to you what you want to decide to do. And then you'd probably just have a good conversation about it and make an informed decision. Doing this is never going to work. Like, what were you hoping to happen? So dumb. Someone in the comments asked, and it's a good question, why did the ex reach out now? What was his angle? Now that OP has a kid, he can come back? That guy has huge issues. Yeah, it's a good point. Why now? Why now with the timing? And also, again, like, why not after your ex tried to unalive herself and you realize what impact you've had on her life? I don't know. Someone replied anyway, probably to help his own guilt. He's told himself he did a good thing, a selfless thing, and that the ends justify the means, as in he broke up with OP, now she has a child. But he needs OP to sign off on it for him to fully convince himself that he was being a good person and to signal to other people that he did right. Maybe that's it. But I will tell you this, if you're watching, you didn't do right, you are a clown. Thanks for watching, guys. Watch them all right here. Catch you on the next one. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and peace.